Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it's been quite a while since I put a video out, and it's for good reason. I mean, it was summer, there's a lot of things going on, life. I mean, I built a new PC for crying out loud, and as you can see, I have got a new angle for my setup. I went back to the traditional camera on the desk with the lights and all that stuff, so that way I can get a little bit of better gameplay recording and potentially doing some other stuff. We'll see how it goes, but nevertheless, what you're here for is I have been playing a ton of Space Marines 2, and I really have been enjoying the game a lot from many different standpoints. Like, I really have been enjoying going through the campaign with my buddy E-Rock on Tech. That's been a lot of fun. It's just classic old school gaming where you're just given weapons. There's not a lot of thought. You don't need to like have a build or something. You're just playing the game, and it's been really nice just going through it in that way. And then also, I've been really enjoying the operations a lot. And that's kind of what I wanted to go over in this video, is my overall thoughts on the operations. Now, I plan on doing some further videos talking about different class guides and doing deep dives on those, kind of like I've been doing on the channel with Helldivers 2. So you'll be seeing a lot of that on this on the channel coming up very soon. But specifically, what I wanted to do again is go over just the general thoughts around operations. Now, operations in the game are pretty self-explanatory. Basically, it's kind of the PvE co-op type thing. You can do it on your own with bots, but honestly, the bots kind of suck. They're great for reviving you. If you have one on your team, they just prioritize reviving you, which is nice. And the AI typically kind of ignores them if there are other players around. So they can be nice from that regard. But in terms of actually assisting you complete the objective and killing things efficiently, the bots suck. So you want to try to play with people. Again, the primary thing is this is a co-op PvE experience where you go into missions that are basically going side by side with the main story. So essentially in the main story, you got Titus, the main character, and his team doing missions. And then you've got this other group of people doing missions as well. And that's kind of who you're playing in the co-op missions on the operations side. So again, I just wanted to go over everything, all my thoughts, and I'm gonna break it down per section. And we're gonna start off right now with the general overview of operations. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are in the operations hub, if you want to call it this. Basically, this is the same hub you see in the campaign, but the primary thing to understand is that this is how you access the co-op missions. So if you come up here to this terminal, you can see that there's an operations tab, and then you've got these 6 missions to choose from. Again, they go side by side with the campaign, so a lot of these things you're going to recognize. You're just going from a different perspective and a different angle than you were from the main campaign. So how the gameplay loop works is you can change the difficulty settings here, and you pick one of these difficulty settings. Typically you start with the minimal, obviously, and then the goal is to get to ruthless. Depending on what difficulty you choose, you get different rewards. Like you can see here, you've got some XP that you can gain, as well as you've got some requisition, and also you've got armory data that you can earn as well. Now they go toward different things. Like the XP obviously levels your character that you're running with, and then also the requisition slips will allow you to buy different upgrades for your weapons, as well as different armor skins and things of that nature. And then the armory data allows you to unlock further levels of your weapons as well, to get perks and different things like that, which I'll go over in just a minute. So the whole gameplay loop for the operations is depending on which class you want to level. You will go into these operations, you will do matchmaking, or you will join with some friends, depending on how you want to do it. And you will complete these levels basically over and over again until you get your fill of it. I mean, it can be quite repetitive, but that's essentially the loop for it. But again, I have had a good time doing them so far. I've run quite a lot of these, and I've gotten one character up to level, I think he's 23, so I'm right here at close to the max level, which is 25. I've got my bulwark up there, and you can see the different classes. But yeah, it's a pretty simple loop, and I like it. There's not a lot of complexities to it, and yeah, that's generally what the gameplay loop is for operations. All right, so how you access your classes and all the different things you can do in the game is from the Armory Hall, and you can access that through this menu, and you go in there, and this is how you access your classes, and this is the screen you were just seeing a few minutes ago. So this is my bulwark, for example. So basically how the class system works is that there are 6 different classes available. There's tactical, assault, vanguard, bulwark, sniper, and heavy. They all have different unique traits to them. They have a unique ability that they can all use. Like, for example, the tactical has this little radar beacon thing that comes out and allows you to mark enemies, as well as some of the later perks allow you to do more damage and things of that nature. Assault has a jetpack that allows you to fly around and ground pummel the ground and whatnot. Bulwark has a chapter banner that you place into the ground, and you're able to replenish the armor for you and your allies, as well as revive with later perks. You get the picture. There's a wide variety of different things each class can do, and each class has unique different weapons available to them. For example, the Bulwark has this thing called a power sword, which is unique to the Bulwark, as well as the Assault has this unique hammer that is unique to the Assault class. And then lastly, of course, Heavy and Sniper have different weapons available to them. Like the Heavy has heavier weapons that it uses, and it can actually not use a melee. And then Sniper has sniper rifles, for example. It's pretty self-explanatory. So when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, as you're leveling up, you will start unlocking these perks. You purchase these perks with requisition slips, and all these perks have different varieties of things they do, and you can create different builds and whatnot. For example, I like to do this little shock build with my Bulwark. It's really effective, as well as I'm able to do a lot of area of effect control and just sit back and burn enemies alive with shock damage. That's pretty cool. You can dive heavy into shield bashing and really ramping up your damage with shield bash. Same thing with tactical. You can really dive in heavily into team support stuff, or you can just dive into heavy into giving your squad extra damage. There's just a wide variety of things you can do in the game with each class. The biggest downsides of this class system is just with how the game is currently designed, and I feel like it's going to be fixed eventually, because the main things that deal the most damage are the regular weapons. They're not the melee weapons. So any of these melee classes like Assault or Bulwark or classes that are really melee reliant are not going to do as well on the damage charts, because they just don't do as much damage to enemies. It sometimes takes 3-4 shots to kill basic enemies, which is pretty ridiculous, because with the guns in general, they feel like they do a lot more damage overall and have one-shot potential. Like example, this plasma pistol, when you charge it up, it can one-shot a wide variety of enemies, or the Melta, for example, can one-shot a wide variety of enemies. But your Pain Sword or your Hammer or your Power Sword are not going to one-shot enemies very often, if at all. So with that being said, the best current class in the game by a mile is the Tactical, because not only does it have the best perk set, in my opinion, in the game, it also has something called the Melta Rifle, and we'll get into more of this in just a moment. But as an overview, the Melta Rifle is the best gun in the game. There's two variants of it. You've got this one, and you've also got the multi-Melta Rifle that the heavies use. So you got a couple of different options there, and they just absolutely obliterate everything in the game outside of things that have very far distances, which obviously things like the Sniper or anything else will take advantage of, or will destroy very quickly. Then it's closely followed by the Bulwark, in my opinion, because the Bulwark's chapter banner is just so clutch in so many situations, because the chapter banner can revive your teammates. As you can see with this perk right here, it revives your teammates, which is absolutely clutch in so many situations, especially on the ruthless difficulty. As well as you can also revive your contested health very heavily. So when you're playing the game, you'll notice that there's a little white bar after you've taken some damage. That's called contested health. If you get an execution or do enough damage, you will replenish your red bar up to that contested health. When that goes away, you have to find a stim or some other way of recovering your health in a different way. What happens is when you place this chapter banner, this actually allows you to regain that contested health bar no matter what level of HP you're at, anybody in your squad. And if all your squads get an execution, then you will actually recover your health fully. So it's very clutch. So I would say Tactical is the best, and then Bulwark, and then quickly going through the other ones. Sniper and Heavy are kind of interchangeable, and then Assault and Vanguard just kind of get lost in the mix. Assault is just way too weak because it's primarily focused on melee damage, which again, I just mentioned, melee damage is in a pretty bad spot. And then you've got Vanguard, which is essentially a worse Tactical, which doesn't make sense. It's got a cool ability with the grapple hook, but it has less armor. The perk set is not as interesting in my opinion. And it just, I don't know, like, I mean, it just doesn't have as many things going for it. And basically you can do everything that Vanguard can do with Tactical. So Vanguard needs a little bit of a rework in my opinion, and then just melee overall needs some work in my opinion as well. But again, just going over it, Tactical, Bulwark, Sniper, Heavy, all those are great. You're gonna have a really good party in ruthless difficulty with a tactical, bulwark, in either a sniper or a heavy. All right, so diving into the weapons just very briefly here, because there's many things I can cover and there's many weapons in the game. As you can see with the tactical player, there's quite a few different options here. So basically what happens is you've got these different tiers of level going all the way up to relic level on your weapons, and you unlock these with requisition points initially, but then you can auto level these up by spending one of the armory data points up here. You can upgrade them automatically, or you can just play with the weapon and level it up organically. But eventually you have to fill up this bar right here that I'm highlighting with my cursor, and that will allow you to unlock the next tier, and you will need a armory data point to be able to unlock the next tier. When you unlock or get this little cogwheel filled up right here on the bottom right, this will allow you to pick a perk, which is in the next tab over. Then you pick one of these perks. They do a wide variety of things, from increasing your damage to giving you more ammo, just a wide variety of things. The melee weapons are the exact same. As you can see with my bulwark weapon, the sword here, it actually has maxed out relic damage. I've got the perk tree maxed out and everything like that. So this is what a weapon that's fully leveled looks like. And then also you can see that with the plasma pistol as well. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty simple. There's nothing really crazy to go over here with the weapons. Just again, note that if you're going to be playing this game for the first time, primarily focus on maybe leveling bulwark or tactical first. I would say tactical should be your first one, then get bulwark, then get heavy, then get sniper, and then you can do the other ones if you really want to. But until they start tweaking them a bit, it's going to be a bit rough. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to talk about the matchmaking for the game, because this seems to be a big trigger point and a kind of a hot topic for everybody to be focused on. To put this out there before I talk about everything, I have not had a ton of issues, but I've also had several issues that have been very annoying. For example, like one of the biggest issues right now is the infinite joining glitch. I've had that happen so many times. It's very annoying. You seem like you're joining a lobby, but then you just sit there infinitely saying joining, and you have to Alt F4 and get out of the game. It's really frustrating. And then the other one that I have too is that if you seem to fail on matchmaking once, it seems to kind of block you from matchmaking again for some reason, because no matter what I do, it just seems to leave me out of the matchmaking pool, which is kind of frustrating. But that's just really the crux of it, right? Some people have reported the fact that, okay, I have never played with anybody because I can't seem to join any lobbies. And then some people say that they join and then they have connection issues, get kicked halfway through a mission, all variety of things, right? So matchmaking is a bit of a mess, and they are working on fixing that sooner rather than later, which is great. I'm glad to see that the dev team is really serious about making this work. Also with the matchmaking, one thing I really hope that they add into the game that's really frustrating for me personally, and one of my biggest gripes with matchmaking, is the fact that you can't select a class pre-joining a queue, for example, right? So basically what happens is you press the matchmake button and then you join, and when you join, there could be two people already in the game, which is fine, which is what you want, but they don't allow you to go into a game with more than one class. So for example, in a lot of people's cases, since the game is fairly new, they may only have one class leveled up to be able to use in the encounter if it's ruthless or the higher tier difficulties. So what sucks is you join this queue and then you realize, okay, well, this person has the same class as me, and likely this is their strongest character. So either one person has to switch to a much weaker character, or you just need to leave and find another group, and it gets kind of frustrating. So what I hope to implement is the ability to pick a class prior to joining the game, meaning if you want to go as assault, you can pick the assault class, and then you go into a queue and everybody gets queued in based on the classes they choose, and then there's no overlapping, so you're not dealing with this awkward Spider-Man meme staring contest wondering who's gonna blink first and change their class. This will change over time too when people have classes leveled up or more than one, but in the initial time I've been playing, it's been kind of frustrating to try to level my bulwark up and realize that somebody else is wanting to level their bulwark and I just leave, or they leave, or it gets awkward, or in some rare occasions that the other person switches. But now that I personally got some other characters leveled, it's been a little easier. I wanted to talk about another hot topic thing, for me personally at least, is the enemy variants and the enemy types that you're going to be facing in the game. So basically you've got two different factions. You're going to be playing the Tyranids, or you're going to be fighting against the Chaos Marines. I believe they're called the Chaos Marines. Don't shoot me, 40k fans. I'm sorry, I'm not a lore buff when it comes to 40k stuff. I'm fairly new to it. But the point is that there are these two factions, and then there are different levels of enemies in these factions, and obviously they all have different things that you have to deal with. And honestly, so fighting the Tyranids to me is pretty self-explanatory. They mostly are melee. There are a few shooty versions or ones that shoot stuff that are kind of annoying, but for the most part, it seems like the fights with the Tyranids are pretty fair. But when you're fighting the Chaos Marines, it really does feel like it's impossible as you increase the difficulty setting. Like on Ruthless, for example, if you're trying to do this with a squad that's ill-equipped, it's basically impossible because these things will overwhelm you very quickly. It doesn't seem like their shooting has any type of cooldown, and you can just get overwhelmed and destroyed so fast fighting the Chaos Marines. Whereas the opposite side is that when you're fighting the Tyranids, yes, you have those moments where it gets annoying when they have a bunch of infinite shooting enemies, but it's far and few between when compared to the Chaos Marines because you're going to be mostly in melee fights and you can typically parry things away, you can find different combos, you can blast them away with the Melta, all variety of things. So I vastly enjoy fighting the Tyranids over fighting the Chaos Marines. All right, so yeah, that's just kind of my brief little synopsis of what I think about Space Marines 2 and the different elements around it on the operation side more specifically. Again, the game is not designed for like super extended long-term play, but if you want to play this and have a good time, it's actually a ton of fun. It's just tons of fun going back to that old school style of like Gears of War type gameplay where you're just, you know, doing extreme kills on enemies and trying to survive big hordes of enemies and different things like that. So it's a lot of fun. That's all my thoughts on Space Marines 2 so far, and I got plenty more videos coming out, a few more videos at least. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about my thoughts on this video, and let me know your experience playing Space Marines 2 so far. All you lore junkies, please feel free to crucify me in the comments if I made any mistakes with names or things like that, because it's gonna be funny, because I'm not a 40k guy. I'm trying to get into the lore now, but it's so much, I don't even really know where to start. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.